This guitar lesson will be posted on the TrueFire.com website and will be included in a published series for their next top guitar instructor submissions. Student votes combined with judges' scores will determine TrueFire's next top guitar instructor, and final rankings will be posted on their website. So be sure to head over and check out all the postings for the top 10 finalist submissions. Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson from Creative Guitar Studio. Thanks for joining me for another one of my guitar lessons. This time we will be discussing some fundamental, basic rhythm guitar skills that are very important to develop. And this came to us as a question from Owen. He's in London, Ontario, Canada. He wrote in saying, well, I just got kicked out of my third band. I keep being told that my rhythm skills suck. Is there any way that you could put together a proper rhythm guitar workout? I think my biggest problem is between my ear hearing the correct groove and my hands being able to jam out the proper notes. Hope you can help me. You're a great teacher, from Owen in London, Ontario, Canada. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, Owen. You know, although it's not great that you've been fired from a few bands now, it is good that you're taking some time out to really work on your rhythm guitar skills. You know, when I teach rhythm guitar here at the studio, my students get a multi-step plan that starts out with realizing that 85 to even 90% of the time that we play guitar, we're doing so as rhythm guitar players. So we need to have skills in place for being capable of, at bare minimum, being able to play the songs adequately. Now, the next concept is being able to get into the right rhythm zone, and this means learning a ton of different songs, using different rhythmic nuances and techniques. And this will be the first step in really moving your rhythm skills forward. The next step is, of course, to listen to yourself. You know, you'll pick up a number of flaws in your playing this way, and then you can work on converting those bad habits that you're listening to on perhaps a recording that you're playing back of yourself, and to getting better playing techniques in the long run. But you know, all this won't occur from just hacking around. You'll need a serious plan for this. So let's begin with some fundamentals and then head to the guitar and establish a solid rhythm guitar study approach. Well, before we head to the guitar, let's talk about some fundamental groove skills that are very important. Starting with the first point here, if you can't play a groove, it doesn't matter how killer your solos are. I know everybody's so worried about getting, their favorite guitar solos 100% nailed and doing a lot of work on improvisation and learning about modes and all that kind of stuff. But if you can't play a basic groove, I don't think you're going to make it sticking around in your band. The next one is strumming solid rhythm guitar is more feel than it is technique. What I mean by that is if you can very clearly have a internalized sense of how that part, whether it's a verse or chorus or whatever it is, really needs to have all the dynamics centered around it and how the attacks need to fall. That's much, much more important than just general technique ideas like which way am I strumming, downwards or upwards, or how many times do I hit the strings in this particular part. All that kind of stuff, that basic technical stuff is pretty amateurish as we really look at the big picture, because we want to have great feel when we're playing rhythm guitar. The technique is something that you practice in the very early days to get your skill sets together so that you have feel and you're operating more from your mind in the long run. Next one, before trying to play a part, use your ear and definitely sing or hum. You want to hear that part in your mind very, very clearly. So away from the guitar, you can even put the guitar down and get away from it and just try to really sing the part, really internalize it, because these elements are going to help with this whole feel concept. Now, the next point is playing with your ear, your mind, your heart, and your gut instinct at the forefront. The idea of playing from in your mind, again, relates back to this whole concept of feel. You can see this is a big element here for us, because if you have a very good idea from a real gut instinct, every pass that you make, let's say on that verse part or that chorus section, or every time you come up to that bridge idea, it's really clear to you in your mind of how you want to develop that feel. The part will come across much better than, of course, as if you're counting it through, 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's technical basic stuff is for studying and doing rehearsal at home, but it doesn't really help with the real good development of groove. The next one here, good rhythm guitar players listen closely instead of just jamming around. I'm sure you've heard somebody say, oh, we got this guitar player in our band, and all the guy does is, is noodling all the time. He's putting these solo licks in, and they don't even make sense in the entire feel. Well, you have to discuss things constantly when you're doing rehearsals with your band, because if they feel that you're jamming around too much and you're not really listening closely and paying attention to the actual full song, you need to get feedback back and forth constantly. Without that occurring, you'll probably get kicked out of the band if it's a serious group, so watch that one closely. The next one, train yourself for consistency and technical skill with the picking hand. So there should, of course, we talked about technique a little back there, but overall, the way that your hand is able to attack the strings, your dynamics that you're able to produce, how loud or how soft all those attacks are, practicing technical concepts like repeated upstrokes or repeated downstrokes with your rhythm guitar. This will all feed back into the whole consistency aspect for you. The better you get technically and your dynamics and your overall understanding of different kinds of note durations and the structure of a meter that you're going to have, let's say in a certain section of a song, the better the consistency will be in the long run. Because consistency is it's practiced at rehearsals and at home and maybe on stage, but it's really crucial for when you're doing a home recording or you're in the studio doing a recording. The consistency there is going to be huge, because you want that looped part, let's say for the verse or the chorus or whatnot, to sound very consistent on every pass. And without the consistency, especially when it comes to layering parts, you're going to have a real problem there in the studio. Now, the last one is working to understand and then, of course, master to a high level your common rhythmic durations. Now, that means that constantly you want to be developing new exercises for rhythm, ideas involving scratch playing as well as playing on the beat, off the beat, developing syncopation, knowing your different feels like shuffle and swing feel, and having a good control over compound meters like the triplet feels and so forth. All of this work, at home, developed with a metronome or a drum machine, is really going to lead to a high level of understanding and mastery with all your rhythm guitar skills. So from this point now, let's head to the guitar neck and start going through some basic exercises that should really help you a lot with developing your fundamental guitar skills in the groove department. So let's go to the guitar next. Well, once you move past the idea that achieving good rhythm playing will take work and dedication to the sound and to the feel, as well as technique for nailing down good groove, you can start into the world of developing the popular rhythmic patterns. Now, in this lesson, we'll begin with the simple eighth note feel and then progress to eighth note triplets and eventually the more complex 16th note feels. Now, in example 1, I have a common eighth note rhythm guitar groove that you can start off with. It's really straightforward. It's in the key of D. It uses the 1-4-5 of D major, G, and A, and it just sounds like this. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's really straightforward. You're just playing on the beat for the most part, on 1 and 3, and that's pretty much about it. So I think what's important to understand is if you're a real rote beginner in looking at your rhythm guitar in detail, this kind of stuff, just dropping things down to a really simple level is super helpful. And also, I should mention on the off chance that if this first groove here that I just played was too difficult for you to play in time and to have a good feel for, I wanted to take a moment to show you a great way to get rhythm into your mind. As an old music rehearsal saying goes, if you can correctly hum or sing the riff, you can probably play it. But if, singing or humming isn't really your thing, you can also get the parts down into your head by either tapping them on the guitar. You could just take your pick and tap on the face of the guitar's pick guard. So that original riff from example 1, you could just go 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and rest, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the other option aside from tapping on the guitar's pick guard there is you could clap it. So you could just go 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and rest and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are some optional ways that you can get started for getting the riff to get right into your mind and place a strong focus on every note. But you could do the same thing in another way of just playing the root of every chord. Now in this progression we have a D, a G, and an A. So we could go through playing off of every one of those notes, utilizing the exact rhythm structure and of course also taking into consideration the rests. So you want to bring your hand in and cover the strings wherever you have those rests occurring. So here's how the example 2 idea that I have in your handout goes, and it's just basically playing the root of every chord. It'll go like this: 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So the idea is basically to take the rhythm and try and break it down to its very most simple elements. And you can do that quite effectively by tapping your pick on this pick guard of your, the top of your guitar if you have an acoustic or whatnot. You could clap it like we had talked about, or you could go into the idea of playing on every root note, which is also, in my opinion, one of the most effective ways to approach it, because at that occurrence, you're getting the same kind of strum pattern going on that would be pretty much exactly like you'd have when you're just learning to do your strumming against the guitar strings. And the important thing there is to make sure that you're paying a lot of attention to how you're doing the down-up patterning. Is no rule out there that says you have to go, down, 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 or you have to go up, 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 or, you could develop your strumming however you'd like. In fact, something like reggae style, a lot of times in that style on those backbeats, where you'd expect them to be doing up strums, they're actually doing down strums. So all of that idea, even down to the subtlest concept of how you hold your pick, having a very light grip, especially if you are using a heavier gauge of guitar pick, which is generally preferable if you're doing a lot of single note soloing in the band that you happen to be in as well. You want to have a very light grip on that guitar pick so that the pick is quite loose in your hand, especially with those medium or heavy gauge guitar picks. Now anyway, moving on to example number 3, I wanted to move into breaking up the time using an idea that's known of as syncopation. Now, if we take the harmony used in exercises 1 and 2 and break up the time so that we lose out on the attack for the beat of 3, we'll experience a brand new feel. And this feel will come down as slightly choppy due to the loss of the third beat. Now, in this example, we're going to have a couple of eighth notes up front, so we'll have 1 and, then we're going to miss the beat of 2. But on the up beat of 2, we're going to have an up strum and sustain over into the beat of 3, And then we'll have the upbeat of 3 carrying down with downbeat into the beat of 4. So it'll go like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you can see how I'm developing the strum pattern of down, up, 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 down. And that's really important when you're first working on exercises. Develop your strum pattern. Know exactly how that right hand is going to operate. So here we go. Here's example number 3, still moving through that same 1, 4, 5 scenario that we had from examples 1 and 2. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Now in example 4, we're going to move into the feel of straight eighth triplets. Now straight triplets are basically breaking the time into 3 equal attacks, and it's most often referred to as compound meter when you're doing this. And in example 4, I have a very basic triplet groove that simply moves between the eighth note triplet played upon the on beats, which are beats 1 and 3, and on the off beats or back beats, those would be the beats of 3 and 4, I'm going to be playing a quarter note attack. So this is a really simple triplet study. But if triplets are new for you, this is going to be a nice introduction. Lisa is going to introduce you into the world of triplets in an easier, more comfortable situation for your initial practice of them. So here we go. This is example 4. I'm still going to be using the 1-4-5 concept in the key of D, but I'm going to shift over to doing some thinner chords on the upper 3 guitar strings. And this is what example number 4 sounds like with the triplets. So 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4, 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4, 1. Here it is one more time. Now, triplets are a little bit different idea going on for your right hand, because basically with the triplet feel, you're kind of getting that down, up, down, up, down, up, and for different areas, how you're moving through a bar might require you to do multiple downs or multiple ups, depending upon which part of the beat and the attack that you'll be strumming through. Now, next up, in example number 5, I want to introduce a very popular feel that's found in blues, country, swing, jazz music, even old-time rock. It's a syncopated triplet feel, best known of as the shuffle or swing rhythm. Now, in this feel, we extend the value of the first eighth note of the triplet over to the span of 2 eighth notes, giving us a quarter note and an eighth note underneath the triplet symbol. Now, this quarter note replaces the former pair of eighth notes in that beat position, so the result is an extension of the beat up front in the triplet figure. So instead of having just the old, 1 and on every attack there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now we're going to extend that beat a little bit. It's going to go 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and just like that. So as opposed to this, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, now we're going to go 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So it's a little bit different feel, kind of drags the feel along a little bit. And in example number 5, we're going to go through it on the downbeats there of the measure as our first occurrence. On the beats of 2 and 4, though, we're going to have that hang back as just a quarter note. So here we go. It sounds like this: 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So that's a really good feel to get used to. You'll see that occur a lot in the blues progressions, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's a really popular feel in blues. You'll see it in country, like I mentioned, jazz as well. So anyway, in the next important and one of the most popular rhythmic figures to know well is going to be the 16th note. So in example 6, I have a very simple 16th note groove. The 16th note groove here occurs upon every beat at beats 1 and 3. So we'll have a rest on 2 and 4 in this very simple example 6 idea here. So here we go. We're going to start on an A. We're going to move down to G, go back and forth a bit, and then we'll resolve into the D chord there. So here we go. 1 E and a 2, 3 and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and a 3 and a 4 again. So the 16th note feel, you can see it's more rapid, down, up, 1 E and up. The count is like that, 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4 and. So you really want to have that nice loose right hand when you try and get into those nice 16th note feels. And again, this is really important to have a nice easy grip on that guitar pick, especially if you use a medium or heavy gauge pick. Now let's move onwards here to example 7. And after the basic feel is developed for the 16th note groove, the next stage of development is for the removal of various attacks in order to create any number of popular 16th note grooves. Now in example 7, I've removed the third 16th note inside of the beats of 1 and 3, as well as the first 16th note from the beats of 2 and 4. So now we have a groove that's going like this: 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So da 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 da. And then we're just going to pass through those same 1, 4, 5 chord changes in the key of D that we were using all along. Goes like this. Here's example number 7. Now, since something called scratch strumming, or the percussive effect, where you've probably heard me do it a lot so far, that kind of attack. It's a very percussive concept. It's called scratch rhythm generally, or some people call them the chukka-chukka sounds. Now, since these scratch strums are so popular with 16th note feel, I've gone into example 8 here by replacing the rests that we had from example 7, now using scratches here in example 8. So to do those scratches effectively, just slightly lift your fingers up over top of the chord. So if you have an A chord, you're playing it, just slowly lift the pressure off that chord until you're getting that scratch effect. And the scratch effect mimics the tone of the chord. You can kind of hear it coming out still over top of that chord. If you want to hear a great example of this, go check out Bob Marley's Stir It Up. It's a great example of a scratch rhythm actually being used to really fulfill the tune. So let's take a look at example 8 using some scratches throughout the chord changes here. It goes like this. Now in example 9, I want to take things up a notch in complexity with a 16th note groove rhythm. Now this groove showcases a very popular syncopated feel, and we wind up getting a extended feel off the beat of 1 here on these chords because we're going to have a dotted 8th note, so it's going to be 1 E and a, like that, 1 E and a. There will still be a 16th note on the very last attack there of that beat of 1. So 1 E and up, it'll occur like that. Now the beat of 2, we're going to have an 8th rest there, but on the back end of that second beat, we're going to have a couple of chord punches as 16ths. So it'll be 2 E and a. So on the first 2 beats, it'll operate like this: 1 E and a, 2 E and a. Then we're going to get really choppy into the beat of 3. We're going to miss the downbeat, so it'll be rest, then we'll catch a 16th, and then another rest, catching the last 16th, bringing us into the downbeat of 4, like that. So at 3, it'll be like this: 3 E and a 4 E. Again, 3 E and a 4 E. So the whole measure is going to sound like this: 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. One more time. And now let's put it all to work in the 1-4-5 progression that's given for example number 9. It goes like this. Let's take it again. Now my final example here, example number 10, I'll be taking the rhythm structure from example 9 and just simply adding in a specifically placed scratch this time. So I'm not just going to be doing an overall blanket coverage of replacing the rests with the scratch rhythm. I'm going to be specifically replacing just one of the areas where we had a rest with a scratch attack. Now, in doing this, the scratch acts more as a percussive effect inside the groove. It's a great exercise, too, because you're resting at some points, you're not playing, and then at other points, you're adding in the scratch attack. Now, the practice of this is not only great rhythm technique study, but it's also very popular as a rhythmic device to use in your playing as well. So this is pretty much going to be the same groove, but this time around we're going to be replacing the upbeat of 4 where we did have an 8th note rest. We're going to replace that with some 16th note scratches. So here's what's going to come together like just first pass to help you get an idea of the sound. It's going to be 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so there's that scratch at the end. Okay, and here's how example 10 sounds whole way through. You know, rhythm guitar is one of those unique playing areas where we need to be aware of both our own playing as well as what everyone else in the band is up to. You know, contrary to how many guitarists approach this subject, rhythm guitar is a very creative area. And it's one where we can combine a good deal of technical concepts right alongside of instinct and feel and creativity and imagination. But the main element is learning the best approach for how we are hitting the guitar strings. And this, of course, is a combination of being, really, really good with all the rhythmic note durations coupled with dynamics and a great understanding in your mind for the sense of meter. Now, once all these areas have been tied together with superior listening skills, creativity and imagination, your rhythm guitar ability will finally be on autopilot, and you'll be having a lot of fun in the process. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Have fun working on all this information. You can download the handout and an MP3 jam track for this video over at my website at andrewwasson.com, and you can follow me on Twitter, through Facebook, and on my other guitar blog, YouTube channel. The links are all in the description box for you. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.